Playing a game in a game. It doesn't matter if you can't ride a bicycle in reality. You can still bicycle kick in these amazing games. Sports are really the perfect genre for games. They are always going to be popular unless you make a game on synchronized swimming or something. There's no need to be very creative, it's just a simulation. Most sports are exciting and entertaining to begin with. So all developers need to do is make them as accurate to real life as possible and make sure everything works. Which does seem to be an impossible task these days. Sports games are great all around, but which sport has the best games? That's what this video is about. I've given timestamps in the comment section so you can skip sports you don't know or like. Football on the one hand is the most popular sport in the world. On the other hand, football games are made by EA. EA and good developers belonged in the same sentence at some point. Now all their creative energy goes into microtransactions, which is a brilliant business move but makes your game as good as any other EA game in the last few years. But because EA have been making football games for God knows how long, I think 20 plus years, they've almost perfected the art of releasing a game every year with a new number on the cover and a couple of new players here and there. Unlike other sports, EA has competition in the football genre. PES was decent for a while, now it's not even close to being FIFA's competitor. I really don't want to know what that says about them. The popularity of MMA is skyrocketing at the moment. It is the purest form of combat with so many martial arts and disciplines. But when you're making a video game, I would think it would be a pain to incorporate all these different martial arts. Boxing and kickboxing, yeah, okay. Wrestling, the problem starts piling up, and by the time you get to the ground, I think you would be done. Going by past games, that might be more accurate than you think, because the stand-up throwing fist part is awesome. But when it comes to the ground game, jiu-jitsu, gameplay mechanics have been somehow very basic, yet a pain in the ass. I know most of you loved those undisputed games back in the day, but I don't know, I like these newer ones a lot more. Like most sports games, they went from an arcade style to being simulations. It's crazy how almost every sport has gone from a goofy, fast-paced arcade style to a point where realism is all that matters. Cricket, WWE, MMA being prime examples of that. UFC 4 has a content problem. There's a half career mode, but online multiplayer is where you're going to spend hundreds of hours, if you are going to spend hundreds of hours. The learning curve is huge. Like MMA in life, it takes a long time to learn and master all the different techniques. But I have to say, online matches are addictive as That's usually a sign of balanced, fluid and functioning gameplay. WWE games have gone through a lot of different periods. There was the NES era, there was the SmackDown games era, the SmackDown vs Raw era, there was a small period between WWE 12 and 2K14. Then from 2K15 the simulation era began. It's widely considered that the games have gotten worse with every period. I'm not kidding, people are stuck to No Mercy like it was made by God and sent here by angels. Me personally, I've enjoyed games from all those eras. SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, SVR 2007 and 11, WWE 12 and 13, 2K14, 30 years of WrestleMania was worth the full price just by itself. 2K16, 18, 19 and 22 are all pretty good. Compared to other sports titles, there's one major difference. It's something I only see with WWE games. It's that gameplay isn't the aspect that I have most fun with. I want to get matches out of the way so I can do all the other stuff. The other fun stuff, roaming the backstage area, promos, interviews, cutscenes even. Very rarely will I load up the game to play just a match. Yeah, sometimes you get the itch to play Hell in a Cell or something, but the actual in-ring stuff isn't what excites me. Take the GM mode. Why has everyone begged for a decade and a half for it? Setting up matches, drafts, rating wars, promos, gimmicks, feuds, those are the best things about professional wrestling. Cricket games at one point were made by EA, in their prime as well. So for a while they were a big deal. Then went to Codemasters' hand, then to Big Hand Studios, relatively small developers out of Australia. Much like the other three, people have been crying out for the good old days, which by some big miracle was when EA had the reins. Once again, newer games are simulations, the older ones are arcades, and once again I do somewhat prefer the modern era. These games are realistic beyond belief, and the amazing thing is they're more fun than ever. Back in the days of Cricket 2007, I didn't finish one test match without autoplay. Bat, autoplay and hope for the best. Bowling was mind-numbingly boring. It's not just that one game. For almost 25 years that was the case. Ashes Cricket 2017 was the first game where batting and bowling were equally fun. That actually is a very tough task to accomplish, because for 90% of people, batting is more fun even in the real world. Cricket 22 in the traditional way of sports games doesn't change except the career mode. Almost nothing has changed. Slightly better, slightly improved, but that's pretty much it. But the thing is, the games before this were already good. So if Cricket 22 is the first cricket game you've played in like 10 years, you'll play the game non-stop, no doubt. But those of us who have played most of the games, it feels like we've been living the same thing for a decade. The career mode is great for a cricket game. I don't think it's as good as WWE or FIFA. Maybe UFC 4 and Cricket 22 are equals in terms of career modes. Even though the career mode doesn't have much, I played multiple careers in almost every game. You know why? Gameplay. I seriously don't know how you can improve anymore. It's just that good. Batting is challenging, takes a while to learn, but everything works. They've even captured little things. For example, if you try to drive a good length ball away from the body, it's over. Same with bowling. A perfect balance of challenge and reward while still being unpredictable. Good deliveries will get you wickets, but not all the time. Sometimes you can bowl like Glenn McGrath with the pace of Shoaib Akhtar and still not get wickets. I just love playing Cricket 22 even a year after its release. The great thing about FIFA 23 is that you can pick up and play right away. You just need to learn to pass and shoot and you can play well enough. But there are still finesse shots and fake passes for more experienced players. So there's depth. I'm not going to pretend like I really know football. It's probably my third favorite sport. So I play like a moron sometimes. But I'd assume if you knew football, truly knew the sport, maybe there's even more stuff. But then again, it is EA, so nothing is guaranteed. Most of my time playing FIFA is online. Competing with humans and skilled human players is extremely frustrating and extremely satisfying at the same time. I will say I played more online multiplayer in FIFA than any other game. See how I'm generalizing FIFA games? I can say the same thing about FIFA 23 and 19. In fact, I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference between games if you put them side by side. But because this has been such a long series, it's polished and gameplay is fun, plain and simple. You can pick the game up and play it with your friends and you'll have fun. The career mode is okay, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I do end up playing a dozen hours of career mode anyway. EA UFC 4 is like every EA sports game ever. Small changes, slight improvements and a roster update. There are some changes to gameplay that I love. First off, it's harder to hit opponents and it takes very few shots to knock someone out. I remember in UFC 2, you could hit a guy with head kick after head kick and he'll shrug it off like it was a nudge. But now one well-placed, well-timed shot is all that is required and the opponent will go night-night. Which is not only realistic but also satisfying as f***. What's not satisfying is missing all your shots, which once again is very accurate. You're not going to connect most of the time. So harder to hit but easier to knock out. That's as perfect a combination as a 1-2. The grappling aspect is noticeably improved as well. There are more in-between stages. Fighters just don't go from striking to the clinch to the ground. There are many moments of back and forth in between that UFC 4 captures pretty well. For players new to the sport, there is a more basic, straightforward control scheme. It is a welcome addition. The ability to pick up and play is very important for a sports game. You no longer need to bring out charts and graphs to teach friends you're playing with. One thing I do enjoy in EA sports games, or maybe it's a sport, but online matches are addictive as f***. You're never going to be so good that you stop paying attention. You're always totally engaged. There's also the good old multiplayer curse. You don't stop when you lose because you want to end with a win, and when you win you don't want to stop because you're having fun. As you have figured out, I'm more than fine with gameplay. But man, the game has no game modes. Career mode is half a game mode at best. It's repetitive and it's not even the fun kind. It's not grinding with some reason. Playing this game for its career mode is like watching Avengers for its dramatic elements. They just aren't worth it. WWE 2K is yet another sports series that has barely changed in a decade. A positive difference here is it's filled with things to do. A universe mode, GM and showcase modes, the My Rise career. Some of it will feel like pure filler, but there is some good stuff here and there, no doubt. Out of these four, 2K22 is the best looking game. I haven't skipped Brock Lesnar's entrance once. His entrance has all bright colors bouncing everywhere. His character model looks great, pyro, but the lighting is the highlight here. It is extraordinary. But when it comes down to the actual gameplay part of the game, I feel all the other three are more fun. I don't know, I've never had fun playing through matches unless it's with another person. Other stuff, backstage sections, interviews, promos are awesome as f***, but the wrestling part is just so formulaic and boring. It doesn't help that 2K22 has combos, grapples before every move. It's like putting a speed bump on a racetrack. It stops any momentum you have built up So the only thing to look forward to in normal matches is exchanging finishes. Gimmick matches like Hell in a Cell and TLC, those are always wacky fun though. In my opinion, out of these 4 sports, football has the best games. It's not great in any one particular area, but good enough in almost all areas. But I haven't even included other great sports games like NBA or F1. Click the video on screen to see a direct comparison of WWE 2K22 and Cricket 22. If you'd like to see a part 2 of this video, comment down below. Meanwhile, subscribe to join our journey, discussing cricket and sports games in detail.